Hi, this is the Vedic Astrologer with the May 2015 reading for Vedic Scorpio. I made a video about Western signs versus Vedic signs because I was getting a lot of feedback saying that people were watching for their Western signs and finding them resonant. So if that's been happening for you, please check out the video, Western signs versus Vedic signs. And also has some information about how to watch, because a lot of people ask me whether they should watch for their sun, moon, or rising. And yeah, my answer is always all three, but that's my short answer. The longer answer is in the video. Okay, so for Scorpio, May 2015. I feel like you're ending one situation in order to begin another, and ending a situation that has paid you back in pennies for the amounts of energy and time and whatever that you have invested in it. Yeah, it feels like something where you've put a lot of attention, a lot of love, a lot of yourself on the line for it, and it really is just not giving you the return that you wanted, and it's not able to give you the return that you want. It's just, you know, the more you feed it, the more you just waste your energy, basically. So it feels like this month you're leaving that behind, or working on leaving that behind. And you're turning towards a more balanced situation that is really kind of the ticket for you. But I feel like you may be somewhat slow in turning your attention to that new situation, even though it's positive for you. It feels like you're sort of stuck in the old and wanting to return to it, even though it's sort of like sick or something, you know, or it's sort of just not getting any better, and there's no way for it to get any better. But it feels like that's kind of where your attention has been for so long that it's hard for you to shift it at this point. So I'm looking at the Six of Pentacles here. And this is kind of the old situation. It's kind of like withering away, and it's only repaying you like these little tiny crumbs from all this effort, all this energy that you've put into it. And this is all you're getting back. It's just this little bit. And then there's this new thing that's kind of coming in for you. And it's like, yeah, again, it's like your ticket, you know, and it's going to be a more balanced situation for you, whether in work or in love and family, whatever. But right now it's like all your attention is on, sorry, I just can't seem to get the reverse thing. All your attention is on this thing, you know, even though this is giving you very little. And this may be something that you know, tried before, but it didn't quite work out. But it still is sort of much more positive and balanced for you. But I feel like your attention is not fully there right now for whatever reason. But I think that you are needing some internal time this month to kind of work on your own stuff. Partly to work through what happened in this old situation, this kind of sickly situation. And partly to hammer out kind of like what you want, you know. I feel like you're kind of in this stripped down state of just being like, well, okay, like all of the things I thought I wanted are either not working for me, or they're being taken away, or they're just not available, or maybe they're just not satisfying anymore. And I feel like you're kind of looking out at the world with new eyes in a way. But it's because you've been broken down, you know. It's kind of this Eight of Pentacles leading into the Three of Wands. So here's the Eight of Pentacles, which is, sorry, I'm terrible at this, which is like a working on it card, you know. But a lot of times, you know, the cards always look different, but it's like this sort of, his smock or whatever to me is looking like an internal thing that's kind of brewing, and your attention is on kind of like working out this internal stuff, and also like hammering out like what is coming up for you, what do you want. But it's like you're not here yet, you're just here on like, you know, figuring out the basis, figuring out the foundation of that. And this is the Three of Wands that is making me say, sorry, I'm trying to show the cards more, but sometimes it interrupts my flow of thought a little bit. But yeah, so it feels like you're kind of in this like internal state where you're kind of trying to work out what you actually want. And yeah, so it's like you're kind of coming from this like burned down state, you know. The Three of Wands, he's all like patched and, you know, he's been like torn and rended and he's put back together. And now he's kind of looking at the landscape like, well, okay, here I go. What next, you know? So it feels like you're sort of in this state of like having kind of it all having blown away or burnt down, and you're able to see with new eyes, and you're trying to figure out like what is your next direction. So I see that there is like a past situation that's kind of calling out to you and seeming to have more light in it than it has for a while now. And this may be the same thing that is indicated on the first card as being a situation where you did put something into it, but then your attention was turned back to this other older thing that you've been giving to without receiving from for a long time. Or you've been giving to in the hopes of receiving like a big thing back, but it's never going to happen, basically. So it feels like this is a time for you to kind of go back to, and where you are pulled back to a situation where you had kind of invested a little bit, but not everything, to see if that is still positive for you. I feel like you're actually being drawn to it. You're being guided to it. And with a new humility. And I feel like you may be fighting this a little bit internally, though, because you may be feeling like, I don't need to just keep returning to things, you know? I want to move forward. I don't want to move backwards. Like, I've got this whole new future lined up for me. I've got a new attitude, you know, I can move forward in any way I want to. So I feel like that's going to be part of your attitude, but then I do feel like you're drawn back to this other sort of unfinished thing. And I think it's because there are still things that need to be said, that need to come out, that someone has been waiting on. This is similar to your reading for last month, so maybe not all of you got it done last month, or it wasn't able to be done completely or something. I feel like you need to go back and see if someone still respects you, is kind of the feeling that I'm getting. After they know everything, after they know all about you, you know, after they know everything that went on, you have to kind of see if they still respect you. And if they would still want to build something with you. Possibly a family. Yeah, I think it's a lot about trying to reverse the hurt. And in a big way, like in a way that you have sort of a long-term vision for. Yeah, it feels almost like you're saying, I've got the Ten of Swords in reverse here and the Ten of Cups next to it. So it almost feels like, okay. It almost feels like you're saying, you know, like, hey, I'm really sorry, so sorry that that things got so messed up, that I got hurt, that you got hurt. Do you want to get married? You know? And I'm sure that like that will not be the actual case, but it almost is like you're making that sort of leap, you know, where you're like going back to a situation being like, actually, no, I kind of want like everything from this, you know? And it could be a work situation where you're like, okay, now I want to start my own company, you know, like that idea kind of fizzled out, but now let's take it and run with it and make it a totally new thing that's going to sustain us for a long time. So I think that the advice here is sort of baby steps to keep your feet on the ground, And it's okay to feel that sort of joy and excitement, but don't let it sweep you away, because this situation needs more detailed care. I think it can be a very positive situation, but it needs to be nurtured. So again, it's one step at a time. It's getting on the same page with somebody or with something, and allowing that renewal to come from allowing yourself to enjoy that first flush of renewal, and know that there is much more ground to be covered, much more ground to be traveled. Yeah, I feel like, again, I feel like it may be hard to wait, though. Like, I feel like you have had a series of disappointments or something, and you want to, you want to get it started. You want to get things on a solid ground. But I feel like what is really needed is for you to be coming from a solid place, which may be difficult just right now, and for the other person to be coming from a solid place. So it kind of just needs to take a little time to balance out. And it may seem to be stuck a little bit while it's taking that time to balance out. But it's actually something that has sort of far-reaching impact on your life. And the advice is to keep the lines of communication open. And again, it seems like communication may be like a lot at first, and then stop for a while, and then be a little bit, and then stop for a while, and then be some more. And that's okay. Like, if you need to take a break, then you can say you need to take a break. But, it helps to say, like, I need some time to digest this or whatever, and I'll be back or whatever. So, yeah, you don't want to just cut off communication if you can help it. But it seems like communication may be flowing very intensely at first, and then kind of need to cool off for a little bit, and then come back, and then cool off and come back. So it seems like that is fine, and that's positive. So do what you can to, like, make those pauses not feel interminable for the other person, But it seems like it's a time when you're just sort of starting to get that direction. It's like at the beginning of the reading, you're sort of at this Three of Wands place. At this Three of Wands place where you're, like, looking out over your life and over your immediate path and being like, okay, well, what now? And I feel like you're receptive. I feel like you're receptive to what is coming up for you. And then by the end of the month, you've got the Eight of Wands, which is about communication, but is also here showing me far-reaching, that it's like, it's moving you into the future. So it's like by the end of the month, you are sort of getting that where you're still here and waiting to kind of hear what's next. By the end of the month, it's moving. But again, the feeling is that you can't jump from 0 to 60. You have to allow it to proceed naturally, and nurture it in order for it to be what you want it to be, for it to give you the return that you want. And again, it feels like some of you are coming out of this situation where you've been giving and giving and giving and not getting anything in return, or not ever getting the big return. So again, this is a situation that calls for more balance. And you may be so used to giving that that's what you do initially, it's just give and give and give to this new person or this new situation. But again, it's about, like, sort of allowing for those periods of rest and allowing to yourself to find your natural flow again, because I feel like that is something that's been blocked for you, or for some of you, through this other thing that's been taking your energy and not giving back. So it's very positive. There's very positive things coming in this month, and the advice is just sort of to allow them to unfold at their correct pace, to not jump in with both feet, but to kind of allow your heart to be filled up, but don't get ahead of yourself, basically. So that's what I see for Scorpio for May 2015. I hope that's helpful. And my link for scheduling is down below if you'd like to book a personal appointment. My email address is theivyleagueastrologer@gmail.com. And please note that all times for scheduling are in Pacific time, because I am in California. So they're all in Pacific time. So if you need to translate, or if you need to switch the time zones, you can just Google, London time to PST, or I think it may be PDT, Pacific Daylight Time, or whatever. And it'll show you what that is in your local time. So you can be sure that you're booking for a time that actually works for you. Okay, so yeah, please check out my video also on Western versus Vedic signs, and have a good May. Thank you very much. Bye.